no, I'm not completely mad. I didn't buy another one of these. I actually bought two of these because that's how they were being sold. I've already changed the battery in the 9.6 one, and this one is a Gus 7.2, whereas the previous one was a Gus 9.6. And again, the batteries will work. Funnily enough, they don't appear to be proper Bosch batteries. I don't really understand, unless the people who sold them pulled the Bosch sticker off and stuck their own sticker on it. I don't really understand that. But they will charge up and they will work, but you can see, very quick, dead. And I should imagine, and this one came with two batteries, I should imagine the same thing will apply to this one. There you go. But they will charge up and work quite happily. So you could charge this up and you could use it and it will run and it will cut things, and it appears as if there's nothing wrong with it, but you leave it for a few days, batteries go flat. So really, nothing wrong with this tool at all. Works great. So we just need to convert this to lithium ion like we did the last one. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I've not seen this before. Both of these say access, and there's a part number, a date code, Bosch power tool battery, 7.2 volts, 1.4 amp hours, made in Germany. It's as if they're Bosch batteries, but not Bosch batteries. But they look really well made. I mean, they're actually held together by tiny little torque screws by the looks of things. We just need a torque screwdriver that fits that. Oh yeah, I think it is 8. And that one's actually been glued in as a sort of tamper-proof measurement, because obviously once you move that one it'll crack the paint. Oh, that one doesn't want to fit in there very well. That one goes in alright. Why can't one go over? Let's try that one there. Yeah. Is that not all the way in? Is that the way? Right, so that's it. So, oh, look at that. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? Look at that. This lifts out. Beautiful. Batteries. That pulls out. Pull that out. Oh, well, you couldn't ask for better than that, could you? I mean, thank you, whoever you are. Access. And obviously we're not going to need all this. And funny enough, it looks exactly like a Bosch battery. I've taken Bosch batteries apart before that have had this sort of rubber pad here like that. They've had this sort of silvery tape that's held onto that little, whatever that is, thermistor or something. And we just need to drill these out so that we can get those off, because they're quite heavy duty, those welds. I don't know what on earth they used. Right, let's drill them out then. Right, I'm just going to try and drill out the spot welds, and hopefully, as I said once before, I don't really care if I drill right into the battery. I mean, if I've drilled right into the battery, at least I know I've taken the spot weld out. There we are. So there's plus, there's minus. I don't suppose it really makes much difference, but if we mark that one as minus and this one as plus, just in case it turns out that there is a slight difference. Right, that can come off of there. Oh, we get a little cardboard washer. What have we got here? Will that pull out? It's just stuck on some sticky. Just slice across there, that'll do. Oh, and it's soldered there. But we don't really care about that, so I'll cut that off. But like I say, I don't think we're going to be using that bit. Alright, so those are heading for the junk pile, or the recycling pile, or whatever you want to call it. Right, that's our top piece ready to go when we've got working on it. So there's the plus, there's the minus, there's the temperature sensor. That's going to sit in like that. Temperature sensor there, this plus this side, this minus that side. So that will be ready to go when we get that far. So we just need to find out what we can put in here. Now we'll only need 2 batteries, so we've got plenty of room to decide what to do, because the 2 batteries are going to fit in there with ease, straight up inside there. I recently bought some of these. They're INR 2700 instead of 18650, so in other words they're 20mm wide and 70mm long. So a bit bigger than the regular 18650, and if I understand the information on the internet, these are about 2.6 amps, so they're nearly 3 amps each. I could be wrong, you know how difficult it is to find out information on the internet. To give you an indication, that's a regular 18650 there, look. That's a Samsung INR 18650. So you can see these are like its big brother, and you can get a bigger big brother. That one might not look a lot bigger, but it's fatter. If I put it there, so it's the same length as this, but it's fatter. Now I bought a few of these, so I'm going to try and make a battery for this with some of these. Now obviously we just need a plus end to go in, and then we need a minus end to go in. Job done. But the space, put that there, they've dropped down to about there. So if you say about there, and then you look at the amount of space that is going to take up, we've probably got room for about a 20mm spacer in there, which means I can probably solder a wire to these two, bring it down and have it join onto these. Job's a good one. The big problem I'm going to have, and I know in advance, is the BMS, because I've tried using a 2-cell BMS in the past, and even though they might say on them 10 amp or 20 amp, none of them have worked. What has tended to happen is as soon as you put them onto a motor, they can't cope. So even though they say they're 20 amp, they just don't work. I'm going to build this one with 20 amp BMS and we'll see what happens, but I think there's a possibility we'll end up charging it via the BMS, but we will discharge it direct from the battery, because I have a sneaky suspicion that we will not be able to discharge from the BMS, but I could be wrong on this occasion, so we'll find out. Right, this is a BMS for 7.2, 8.4 volts, depending on how you want to look at it. I've used this one before and obviously had problems, and I've got another one here which is brand new, and as you can see it says 20 amp, and it looks to be a sort of big brother version of that one. Not quite sure what the difference is, because all of these parts are the same on both of them, but this one's got some extra components down the side here that this one hasn't got. And we've got 2 batteries to build and we don't know, so I might have to buy some of these. I suppose the obvious thing to do is to start with this one, because that way if I prove that this one isn't any good I can throw it away and move on to the new one. But it wouldn't surprise me if I move on to the new one and discover that doesn't work either. Right, I've put a tiny little bit of super glue on there to try and hold the two together. Whether it will or not, I have no idea, but nope. I want to put the positive side on first because you've got lots of room for the negative. Right, and then that's that, so then we've got lots of room over here. I love this thing, I just wish it felt a little bit more oomph behind it. I've just pulled the card off of one of these because I realised it would make quite a good insulator because it's quite thick but compact card. Quite often with card these days it's sort of soggy, if you know what I mean. But this is quite sort of hard stuff. So I put a bit of double-sided tape on it. And if I put that somewhere in the middle, it naturally wants to wrap round the batteries anyway. There you are, like that. And then this will get a little bit of added insulation and a little bit of heat proofness, especially once I've put something underneath it just to hold it there. Well, I'm just going to stick a sticky pad in the middle there because it looks like I'm only going to be soldering right at this end and over this end, so with a little bit of luck this bit will stay away from some of the heat. Now if we look at this, that says 0 and 8.4 volts, and that's going to be that end there because this end is 4 volts where they're joined together. So if we put that about there, with a bit of luck, that'll stick there. Right, now we need 2 tabs. I could try and bring 2 tabs round to solder onto there, but when you look at the size of the tabs, trying to get from there round and then only onto that little bit, I mean it's doable. So I suppose we could do it like that. This one on here, I'll need it far enough over so it's going to actually touch right, that looks like it's going to touch 8.4 volts. Let's just lift that up so that we're not touching anything at the moment. And then we want this one to go across and touch to there, which is our 0 volts. So that one, as you can see, it's a bit fiddly trying to get these things to be where you want them and weld them at the same time. Right, I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea, but what I've done is I've folded over the corner, and I'm just going to put a little bit of solder on there, so that's the corner of those tabs is now folded over. And then, with a bit of luck, I can bend that down onto there. Hold it down with the tweezers and solder it on. Always takes the solder a time to get going on this because obviously the heat gets all soaked up there. But eventually we should get something going through there. I should be able to see it. Can I see that? Yes I can. Right, so that's on there. Just waiting a little bit because I've let go of these before now and then they spring back off again. Right, so that's onto there, and then this one is our 0, so that will give us 0, 4 volts at this end, 8 volts at that end, and that's on, so we just need this one on. So we need that on there, like that. And I'm gradually learning my lesson. I would try and be holding that with my fingers, and then of course my fingers would get burnt. Right, and that's on there. And we just need from there to there. Right, this is just a strip of copper wire. Well, it was a piece of copper wire that I've hammered a little bit flatter, so it will go on fairly tidily there. Put that on there like that. And then if we bring that along, if we bend it at an angle before it gets there so that it's sort of like that, I think that's going to do. I just need to press it down. I don't think those are the ideal things to do it with. I think we'll just press it down with a screwdriver. I'm going to be in your way or you're going to be in my way, whichever way you look at it. Let's get that pressed onto there. Oh, that's sliding off. Right, press that down. Take that away. That's just the wire that I was using. Push that down a little bit. Don't want it under sort of tension. I think that's okay. Right, let's just double check that we've got everything that we expect to have. So we're using this one as our 0. So we've got 4.08 there, and we've got 8.14 there, which is pretty much what you could expect. I mean, 8.4 is about the best that you should get. Now what have we got here, because this will be our charge and power out point, and we've only got 4.53 there. Now I find that that tends to happen sometimes because you need to have jumped from here to here. Now I'm not 100% sure. I don't even know if these will reach that far. Let's do that minus to that minus. Right, done that. Now let's see what we've got at this end. Yep, now we've got 8.14. Now the problem is that if it jumps back to the 4 volts, this isn't going to work. And I don't understand exactly why these do this sometimes, because I've found on numerous occasions that these 2S BMSs don't seem to work properly. Maybe it's just me. Right, I made up a couple of little leads. That's got a thicker wire for the discharge and a thin wire for the charge, and they're going to the same point on here, so that's the negative point, so that's going to there. And then we've got the positive one, it's going to go this side. And then these 2 wires will be for charging, and these 2 wires will be for power out. Now what I might try to do is to run these straight to that motor and see if it will power that motor before we assemble anything. Well, I ended up using white and green for these the other day. I don't know why. It just seems to be the only thing I can find lying around. So it's white for plus, green for minus. White for plus, green for minus. Now, as I said, in the past I've had problems with when you connect these up, they can't take the strain of the motor, so we'll find out. Is that about the right speed, do you think? What we could do is we could ignore this and we could jump straight to the battery. So can we clip that on there? Not easily. See, why haven't I got three hands? If I press those on there. Now, would you say that's working better? Right, I'm going to cut the temperature sensor off because I'm working on the assumption that we're not going to be using that. Yep. And then, again, as I did in the previous video on one of these, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on here and try and stick my fingers together, because who doesn't want their fingers stuck together? Right, and that's on that one, and then a little bit on there and a little bit on there, because it just helps hold everything still when we're soldering. But of course what tends to happen when you solder is the glue doesn't like the heat. Right, well that was a failure, these just keep falling off. Like that. So hoping that the glue would hold them there while I put some solder on them was a waste of time. And this is a waste of time. Nobody noticed. Well, I bet you did. I bet somebody was sitting there laughing themselves silly watching this and saying that's never going to work. It won't fit in. Now I don't need it to go all the way in, but I need it to go in far enough for that to go on. And I'm short by, I don't know, about 10 mil. 3/8 of an inch in old money. So this needs to relocate that way. I've relocated the board further down to give me a little bit of extra space. It still won't fit. It needs this bit to go in further, so it stops there, and you could false it, but that'd just be ridiculous. So had I used regular 18650s it would have worked, but because I use these it won't fit. Okay, I got fed up with all this mucking around and trying to connect to this stupid BMS, so those posts are now connected straight to the battery, which means that the battery can now sit straight in there. The only thing I need is a way of getting these two wires. They'll be our charge wires, so that's where we're going to charge up from. So we've got charge and we're going through and we're charging up, and we've got balance, we've got 0, 8, 4 down there, so we can balance charge. We're not using these 4 MOSFETs, we're taking the power straight out the top of the battery. Right, so this should fit in here. So this is the plus side, that's the plus side. Oh, our little temperature sensor thing has fallen off. That's it there. So we're in. And obviously this has got to shut onto there, which it will do quite easily. So I just need to work out how much pressure I need from below to hold all of this in place. I think some sponge will probably do it. Right, bits of sponge for in the bottom of there. Hole drilled in there. Plug for charging. That's in there. The circuit board will actually fit there, so that will just hold it all still. That's the ring, there's our charge wires, that's going to go onto there. So I just need to poke those through there, like that. And we need to get those soldered onto here. Right, let's solder on our wires. So there's our negative wire for charging. And there's our positive. And somewhere poked in here I've got some heat shrink. A bit for the plastic. Right, so that should go through there. Like that. Well, we should be able to do our nut up. Right, let's get that more or less sitting in the middle. Don't really care if it's 100%, but that's sort of the middle. Right, I think that'll do. Charge plug point is in, so the female point. Wires are there, they're wired up to the BMS board. BMS board will slip just in there out of the way. Doesn't really matter, but it will. There's plenty of room, it could move almost anywhere. Wires are more or less out of the way. You can see it's just loosely fitted there. I could try and fix it more in place at a later date if I feel that I need to, but I've got a feeling that the springiness in all the wires will just hold that still. Right, now this then should shut, because what we should be pressing against is, and I'm not 100% sure if it is, but we should be just pressing against, oh, I think we might just be touching the top of that stupid plug. Yeah, we could just be touching the top of it there, because of it slopes at an angle. Right, this thing's got two flats on it, so if you turn it sideways like that, it's about 1/2 millimetre thinner, and although it's not perfect, it's on. So what I'm going to do is try putting the screws back in at that point and then see what happens. I can't get over the fact that these weigh nothing. Right, which way does that go? That way? Right, I was gaily cutting up all my old shirts yesterday to turn into rags with the other one, so this has already been cut up once, but gives us a starting point. I just can't get over how fantastic these things are. I mean, you couldn't ask for better than that, could you? I don't know what it's like on paper. Didn't seem to make any difference. Let's double it up. I'll have to print this again if I need it. That's 4 sheets of paper. That's 8 sheets of paper. Are we getting near the limit of what we'll go through? More or less, but that's 16 sheets of paper. I mean, I did slow it down a little bit, but sort of still 7.2 volts. And I can't see any reference to NiCd on this one, even though it is NiCd. So I can probably leave this one because it still is more or less 7.2 volts. It just needs something on the battery. I've taken the stickers off, so it needs something on here to say lithium ion.